What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of You for Fate Strange Fake. This is episode 10, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
Yeah, I thought this was a decent episode, um,
Yeah,
and definitely a interesting, you know, way to end the episode and like on where the Holy Grail War is, um, as of right now. I mean, but yeah, so like we pick up after the last episode in which Alcides ends up stealing Jack the Ripper's noble phantasm, and it looks like he's about to kill him, but it I think I think he stopped short. I think what was it? I think it was a John, which you remember, like we saw him getting killed by Alcides after he just knocks him into a building, and we just see his body just limped and his neck just snapped in a
yeah.
weird position. But it turns out he's not dead. Um,
I kind of didn't think he was actually dead, considering how he seemed like he was going to be like a kind of an important character. But at the same time, I'm wondering how, how, of course, how he comes back from that.
I I think it was Jack the Ripper. I mean, he's like, despite him losing his noble phantasm, he still has the ability to, I guess, like come up
Like
with
produce illusions or pretend to.
produce illusions and acting like other people
Yeah,
like he usually does. So he sends like a whole army of the same police officer that he disguised himself with, um, of course, to distract Alcides. And then in the process, we see John coming back. His prosthetic arm is, of course, like a blade, which is laced with like a Hydra poison, which, in a way, it does effectively incapacitate Alcides, well, temporarily, until he reveals that because this poison is man-made and not made from the gods, it it has little to no effect on him.
yeah. So meanwhile, there's also a confrontation, which is where we left off in the last episode, which is this confrontation with Gilgamesh and was it Richard? Uh,
Yeah,
yeah. So Richard's just basically throwing. I guess you would say like fake Excaliburs at him, like constantly.
yeah.
Uh,
He just spams Excaliburs like on every like literally with every single sword that Gilgamesh throws at him, and
yeah,
and Richard throws it back. At this point, like I really doubt that his Excalibur has any, you know, I it's not as powerful as Artoria's Excalibur. Let's
yeah,
just put it at that.
yeah. I mean, I guess I assume it works kind of like it does, like with the Unlimited Blade Works, Reality Marvel, and Fate, where the imitation swords, they contain, maybe I would assume, like a fraction of the power of the original, maybe. So maybe that's how it works. They could still like hurt somebody, but they're not nearly as powerful as the original.
Yeah, and despite Richard's best efforts to go up against Gilgamesh, he gets knocked out, and then Gilgamesh sends him flying through the church's roof where Ayaka is staying at.
Yeah, and Ayaka at the same time is having this like conversation with Ramza, where he basically asks like what she is, and I didn't think she was gonna really end up answering that question, because of course they get interrupted before she could really give him her proper response.
Yeah, and then we see a flashback. Supposedly, it's a flashback of her meeting both Kirei Kotomine and a a
Yeah, I
child
think it was
version of
Kid
Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh.
Yeah, which leads me to believe that this takes place after the events of Hollow Ataraxia.
Either, yeah, after or during those events, maybe, because we also see the Red Riding Hood character show up, and of course the Red Riding Hood character does seem to be like a big factor in Ayaka's backstory. Although I'm not really sure how it factors in, like what it really has to do with her.
Yeah, it's not really clear because I mean I'm still under the impression that Fate Strange Fake is like a spin-off alternate continuity, just like
Yeah,
Apocrypha was. But they're taking in elements of what already happened back in Fate Zero, and now they're adding this little wrinkle of what happened in Fate Hollow Ataraxia too.
Yeah. Also, we see another flashback sequence with Ayaka talking to some character off screen, where they give her a passport and basically like, I guess this is what the character that basically like instructed her to maybe take part in this war.
Which I could assume it's someone from from the Einstein clan, but it's
Yeah.
still unclear. Um, but but yeah, so all of a sudden, before Gilgamesh can proceed any further, he gets like distracted and I think incapacitated by Ishtar after that, because she comes in, she uses like the discarded key that uh, I think it was the discarded key to the gate of Babylonia to nullify Gilgamesh's nipple phantasm.
Yeah, so that ends up like canceling out Gilgamesh's Gate of Babylon, which pretty much leaves him vulnerable, because after this he starts getting uh, just arrows fired at him by Alcides, and he takes a lot of damage.
Yeah,
But before he can, there can be like a fatal blow landed on him. He's Enkiru, I think, at the last second like protects him, but he does eventually end up taking another hit like directly, and seemingly is taken out.
yeah. It's I think it was like what was it? The true berserker, what was it? That robotic doll that's still
Yeah,
roaming about.
yeah. So
Like
that
yeah,
thing shows up.
yeah, he just blasts them with like this powerful shot, which is like it literally just not only just blows like I mean it doesn't blow like a huge hole in him. I mean there's still a hole in his chest, but the follow up blast after that just completely obliterates the buildings in its path.
I like how people were pointing out too that this could have been almost like a cliffhanger ending for this season, but that's of course not really what happens. But I do think it would have been a pretty good cliffhanger to end things on if this were like what ended, how the season ended. Um,
Yeah,
but
and
yeah,
most people online are speculating that Gilgamesh is dead. I mean,
yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, it's hard to say because he's not, he's not fading away like any servant usually does when they die. But it just seems like it's a possibility that it might happen. I mean, like it'd be shocking to know that Gilgamesh would be the first major servant to be eliminated from this war.
yeah, and Gilgamesh is one of the most powerful servants, like usually in Fate. So I mean, yeah, that's a pretty big deal if he's already taken out. But also at the same time, also the what was it, assassin and Sigma. They're basically like trying to get into the hospital, but of course they encounter Jester, who tries to stop them. And it's funny how this plays out too, because the assassin tries to hit him with Zabania, but then Sigma just shoots him in the head. But of course, him being a dead apostle, he just comes back from that.
Yeah, and then soon afterwards, there's like that black fog just appears and spreads over the entire area, which causes Ishtar and pretty much everybody in the vicinity to retreat. But at the same
Yeah,
time, like some of the police officers, Flat, Jack, Richard, and Ayaka are all caught up in the fog after that.
yeah, and I know what servant's probably doing this. Also, we should mention that Castor shows up and reveals his identity to Flat, which apparently his true identity is Alexandre Dumas, the guy that wrote The Three Musketeers and The Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah, it's which is like it's not the first time when which that they've like had like a major author be a servant. I mean,
Yeah,
we
I
had
mean
like
Shakespeare.
yeah, Shakespeare was a major servant, was a caster servant in Fate Apocrypha. So I'm not surprised that they added like Dumas like had like a major like author be a servant in this one. I mean, for
Hmm.
Fate Grand Order, they had numerous authors be adapted as servants. So there's that.
Yeah, so I guess like Castor makes some kind of, I guess maybe like a temporary truce with Flat to help him out against Alcides. And Flat, like well I guess one of the things that I guess this caster can do is like give Flat like somewhat of a power boost or something. Uh, and also like disguise him or well, I mean Jack the Ripper disguises himself as Flat to distract Alcides, and then like Flat uses or tries to uh, tries to fight back against Alcides as well. But yeah, and then of course, like you mentioned, yeah, this episode just ends on that cliffhanger with this like mud spreading around. It almost kind of looks like the mud from Holy Grail. But yeah, I know what this probably is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a pretty decent episode, but it definitely feels like things are moving at a very fast pace. Like, because I did see that people online were saying, I guess people that have read the light novels are saying that basically they've condensed 10 or well, they've condensed like 800 or so pages into 10 episodes. And I mean, it does kind of feel that way because the plot has been it has been moving at a pretty brisk pace, and it just feels like the way things are playing out, it's just kind of jumping between scenes a lot. But it is really kind of hard to tell if you haven't read the light novels, but it does feel like things are just kind of moving along at a really fast pace for the most part, and we don't really have a lot of time to really to breathe much. Just things are just constantly happening, especially now. But I guess it makes sense because it does feel like we're getting close to like the climax of this particular season.
Yeah. I yeah, it's and plus like, leaving it off at such like it's I don't know, such an interesting point in which like they supposedly are going to kill off Gilgamesh, but we just don't know if that's going to be the case if unless somehow like Gilgamesh is incapacitated or just out of commission.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I highly doubt that Gilgamesh is gonna just be taken out like that. Um, but yeah, I don't really have much else to say about this episode, though. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, it's going at an interesting pace of where they're heading towards this season. Um, I mean, as far as I know, the series is still ongoing in the manga, or I think it was the
It's the
light
light
novel. I
novel.
don't. It's a light novel. Okay. It's still ongoing, so it's not finished. So I really don't think that we're gonna actually see an actual conclusion to this Holy Grail War, even once the season ends. My, I mean, my guess is like by the time they finish, I don't know, like whenever they're gonna release the final volume for this, is that we might have to wait several years for the next season to arrive.
Well, I mean, especially considering how long we had to wait just for this season to come out. I mean,
Yeah,
I dread to I really I really dread to think about how long we would have to wait for season two.
yeah.
Um, but
Thing about this is like they said this was gonna be a 7-day war, and according to this, it's like it's on its fourth day. So like we only have like what 3 days left of this war left to adapt.
yeah, there's definitely got to be more to it than that. Uh, I mean, something is probably going to happen at some point to where like it's gonna for whatever reason just go on for longer, maybe, or something's gonna change. Like that would be my assumption, but I guess we'll see. But yeah, guys, that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.